Hello everyone and welcome to the Young and the Restless channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. In the ever-shifting world of Genoa City, where emotions run deep and loyalties are constantly tested, a new chapter of uncertainty begins to unfold around Kyle Abbott. For a long time, Kyle held on to hope that somehow, someway, he and Claire Newman might find their way back to each other. That hope lingered quietly in the background of his every decision, guiding him through moments of doubt and heartbreak. But now, something has changed. As Holden Novak begins to capture Claire's attention once more, that fragile thread of possibility finally snaps, leaving Kyle standing at a crossroads where the past no longer offers comfort. Acceptance settles in, not as a sudden realization, but as a slow, heavy truth that their relationship has reached its end, forcing Kyle to look ahead, even as the echoes of what once was continue to linger. Determined not to let himself be consumed by loss, Kyle throws his energy into something constructive, something that gives him purpose amid the emotional chaos. He becomes deeply involved in helping Jack Abbott and Diane Jenkins Abbott repair their fractured marriage, immersing himself in their struggles, as though fixing their relationship might somehow quiet the unrest in his own heart. The effort keeps him busy, giving him a sense of direction. Yet, beneath the surface, there's an undeniable restlessness. It's as if Kyle is searching for something more, something to fill the void Claire has left behind. And in the midst of this quiet turmoil, an unexpected possibility begins to take shape, one that no one could have predicted, but many are beginning to suspect. Across Genoa City, whispers begin to spread, fueled by subtle moments and lingering glances that seem too deliberate to ignore. Victoria Newman and Kyle Abbott, two figures from very different chapters of life, are suddenly sharing more space, more time, and more unspoken tension than ever before. It doesn't happen all at once, but gradually, almost imperceptibly, their paths begin to intertwine. Kyle seems to appear wherever Victoria is, their encounters stacking up into a pattern that's difficult to dismiss as coincidence. Even on New Year's Eve, when the city shimmered with celebration and new beginnings, the two found themselves sharing a quiet, unexpected bond before the clock struck midnight. It was a moment that felt small at the time, yet in hindsight, it carries the weight of something more, something that might have been the beginning of a connection neither of them fully understood. As the days pass, the atmosphere between them grows more complicated, charged with an undercurrent of tension that neither openly acknowledges. Much of that strain stems from Victor Newman's latest wave of drama, which casts a long shadow over Victoria's life and leaves her navigating familiar storms once again. Yet, in a twist that Genoa City knows all too well, tension has a way of transforming into something far more dangerous. What begins as shared frustration and quiet understanding could easily ignite into passion, blurring the lines between comfort and desire. The question lingers in the air, unspoken but impossible to ignore. Could this unexpected closeness between Kyle and Victoria evolve into something far more intimate? Meanwhile, Victoria's relationship with Nate Hastings seems to be drifting into uncertain territory. Its once promising spark now dimmed to little more than embers. What once felt like a second chance at something meaningful now appears stalled, leaving many to wonder if their reunion is quietly unraveling before it ever truly had the chance to flourish again. If that chapter is indeed coming to a close, it opens the door to new possibilities. Possibilities that may lead Victoria down a path she never intended to take. And in that moment of vulnerability, with her heart caught between disappointment and desire, Kyle Abbott could become the one person who steps into that space, whether by chance or by choice. The mere thought of such a connection carries a certain shock value, a ripple of controversy that would undoubtedly send waves through Genoa City. After all, Kyle's most recent relationship was with Claire, Victoria's own daughter, adding a layer of complexity that cannot be ignored. It's the kind of situation that invites both fascination and discomfort, a storyline that dances on the edge of taboo. Yet, in the unpredictable world of daytime drama, such entanglements are not entirely unheard of. History has shown that boundaries can blur and relationships can form in the most unexpected and often complicated ways. Even the age difference between Victoria and Kyle feels less like a barrier and more like a footnote in a world where unconventional pairings have become the norm. Genoa City has seen its fair share of unlikely romances, proving time and time again that chemistry doesn't always follow the rules. And so, the possibility lingers, quietly, persistently, that Kyle and Victoria could find themselves drawn together despite the odds, despite the complications, and despite the potential fallout. For now, nothing overt has happened. There have been no stolen glances that linger too long, no flirtations that cross the line into something undeniable. And yet, the sense that something is building refuses to fade. It's there in their repeated encounters, in the way their lives seem to orbit one another with increasing frequency, as though an unseen force is pulling them closer together. Viewers can't help but wonder if this proximity is merely coincidence, or if it's the beginning of a story that has yet to fully reveal itself. And if that story does take a dramatic turn, even something as fleeting as a single impulsive night between them could set off a chain reaction with explosive consequences. The fallout would be impossible to contain, especially when Claire inevitably learns the truth. Her reaction could shake the very foundations of the relationships around her, turning heartbreak into confrontation and betrayal into something far more devastating. It's the kind of twist that doesn't just change lives, it reshapes them entirely. As Genoa City continues to pulse with secrets, desires, and unexpected turns, one thing becomes clear. The calm never lasts for long. Beneath the surface, emotions are shifting, alliances are evolving, and choices are being made that will ripple outward in ways no one can predict. The road ahead promises shocking revelations and dramatic upheaval, with Kyle and Victoria potentially standing at the center of it all. And as the story unfolds, viewers are left watching closely, waiting for the moment when possibility turns into reality, and everything changes in the blink of an eye. And just when it seems as though the tension might plateau, the emotional currents beneath the surface begin to surge with even greater intensity, pulling everyone involved toward a point of no return. Kyle finds himself caught in a quiet new conflict, one that grows more complicated with each passing encounter. What began as casual conversations and coincidental meetings with Victoria now carries an unmistakable weight, as if every shared moment is charged with something neither of them is ready to name. He tells himself it's harmless, that he's simply moving forward, trying to rebuild after the loss of Claire. But deep down, there's a flicker of awareness, a realization that he may be stepping into territory that could change everything, not just for him, but for the entire Newman family. Victoria, too, is far from immune to the shift unfolding between them. Beneath her composed exterior lies a woman who has weathered countless storms, yet still finds herself vulnerable in the quiet spaces between decisions. Her relationship with Nate continues to feel distant, as though something essential has slipped through her fingers without warning. In that absence, Kyle's presence becomes more noticeable, more significant, offering a sense of understanding that feels both comforting and dangerously easy. Their conversations grow longer, their silences more meaningful, and in those in-between moments, something unspoken begins to take root, something that neither logic nor loyalty can easily dismiss. As days turn into nights, the rhythm of their interactions begins to shift, guided less by coincidence and more by an unspoken pull that keeps drawing them back to each other. There's a subtle change in the air when they're together, a quiet electricity that lingers just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to ignite. It's in the way their eyes meet a second too long, in the pauses that stretch just slightly beyond comfort, in the shared understanding that something is building whether they acknowledge it or not. And as that tension grows, so too does the risk, casting a shadow over every choice they make and every step they take toward or away from each other. But in Genoa City, secrets have a way of unraveling when least expected, and the consequences of even a single misstep can ripple outward with devastating force. If Kyle and Victoria were to cross that line, even for a fleeting moment, the fallout would be immediate and explosive. Claire, already navigating her own emotional journey, would be blindsided by a betrayal that cuts deeper than words can express. The pain of losing Kyle would pale in comparison to the shock of seeing him entangled with her own mother, turning what was once heartbreak into something far more personal, far more unforgiving. It wouldn't just be a broken relationship, it would be a fracture that threatens to tear apart the fragile bonds holding the family together. And yet, despite the looming consequences, the pull between Kyle and Victoria refuses to fade. It lingers in every shared space, in every unresolved glance, in every moment where the line between restraint and surrender feels impossibly thin. They stand on the edge of a choice that could redefine everything, aware of the cost, yet unable to fully walk away. It's that tension, that delicate balance between desire and consequence, that gives their story its dangerous allure, drawing viewers deeper into the question of what will happen when restraint is no longer enough. As the story continues to unfold, Genoa City becomes a stage for emotions too powerful to contain, where every decision carries the weight of what could be lost and what might be gained. The possibility of a scandal, of a forbidden connection that defies expectations and ignites chaos, hangs heavy in the air. And somewhere in the midst of it all, Kyle and Victoria remain at the center of the storm, their paths intertwined in ways that feel both inevitable and impossible to predict. Because in this world, where love and betrayal often walk hand in hand, it only takes a single moment, a single choice, for everything to change. And when that moment finally arrives, it won't just be a twist in the story. It will be an explosion, sending shockwaves through every life it touches, leaving nothing and no one untouched in its wake. As the tension tightens like a coiled spring, the world around them seems to fade into the background, leaving only the quiet, undeniable gravity pulling Kyle and Victoria closer together. What once felt like coincidence now feels almost inevitable, as if every path they take somehow leads them back to one another. There's a growing awareness in both of them that they are standing at the edge of something irreversible, something that cannot simply be undone once crossed. And yet, the more they try to maintain distance, the more that distance seems to collapse under the weight of unspoken emotion. It's no longer just about timing or circumstance, it's about choice, and the realization that sooner or later, they will have to make one. In the midst of this emotional storm, the rest of Genoa City continues to move forward, unaware of the quiet eruption building just beneath the surface. Jack and Diane remain focused on repairing what was once broken between them, leaning on Kyle's steady presence without fully understanding the turmoil he carries inside. There's an irony in that. Kyle working so hard to restore someone else's marriage, while his own emotional boundaries begin to blur in ways he never anticipated. Every piece of advice he offers, every moment of support he gives, feels increasingly complicated, as though he's trying to hold together a sense of stability that is slowly slipping through his own hands. And in those quiet moments of reflection, a question begins to take shape. How can he help fix something else when he's no longer sure how to hold himself together? For Victoria, the pressure comes from all sides, closing in with a familiar intensity that leaves little room for clarity. Victor's influence continues to loom large, his expectations and manipulations casting long shadows over her decisions. At the same time, the fading connection with Nate leaves her feeling untethered, caught between what she thought she wanted and what now feels uncertain. In that space of vulnerability, Kyle becomes more than just a familiar face. He becomes a source of comfort, someone who understands without needing explanations. But comfort can be dangerous when it starts to feel like necessity, and Victoria is all too aware of how easily emotional reliance can blur into something far more complicated. And then, in a moment that feels both sudden and long overdue, everything threatens to shift. It doesn't come with grand declarations or dramatic buildup, but rather in the quiet intensity of a shared space where words fall away and emotions take over. A lingering look becomes impossible to ignore, a step closer feels inevitable, and the line they've both been carefully avoiding begins to disappear beneath their feet. It's the kind of moment that exists outside of time, where consequences feel distant and the present feels overwhelming. And in that fragile, fleeting space, the choice they've been circling for so long finally stands directly in front of them. Whether they step back or give in, the impact of that moment will echo far beyond the two of them. If they resist, the tension will remain, simmering just beneath the surface, threatening to resurface again and again until it can no longer be contained. But if they surrender to it, even just once, it will set off a chain reaction that cannot be stopped. Claire's world would be shattered in an instant, the betrayal cutting deeper than anything she's faced before. Trust would be broken, lines would be drawn, and the fallout would ripple through every relationship connected to them, turning private choices into public consequences. As the days stretch forward, the question is no longer whether something is happening between Kyle and Victoria. It's how far it will go, and what they're willing to risk when everything is on the line. The air in Genoa City feels heavier now, thick with anticipation and the promise of upheaval. Every glance, every encounter, every quiet moment carries the weight of what could happen next, keeping everyone on edge as the story moves closer to its breaking point. Because in the end, it's not just about passion or temptation. It's about the cost of giving in, and whether the aftermath is something they can truly survive. And as the lines between right and wrong continue to blur, one thing becomes certain. When the truth finally comes to light, it won't just change Kyle and Victoria's lives. It will send shockwaves through Genoa City that no one will be able to escape, leaving behind a trail of heartbreak, confrontation, and consequences that will linger long after the moment itself has passed.